Have you ever wondered if you were aboard an interstellar spacecraft and only had a map of the inner sphere from Battletech, how screwed would you be? You probably haven't, because there's no good reason to ask that question, but it doesn't mean it couldn't be fun to explore, because sometimes there is a tiny bit of science in science fiction, and tiny bit in this case is probably pretty darn good. So a few notes as we get started here. One, I'm about to bring up the map of the inner sphere in 3151, which is the Ilkhan era. So spoiler alert if you're still stuck in the clan invasion, but too late to do anything about that now. So a few obvious disclaimers when it comes to figuring out space according to Battletech is one, just like the Earth, space is not flat. In fact, the Milky Way galaxy is approximately 1,000 light years thick. So a flat map for space is kind of useless. And of course, most of the stars in here are totally made up, but some of them do reference actual real stars. But in order to try to find those, we need to somehow orient ourselves on this map. Now in Battletech, the way the map is laid out, pointing upward is coreward, or towards the core of the Milky Way galaxy. And fortunately, we have a really nice beacon that we can use to align, say, the night sky with the map of the inner sphere, and that would be this object right here. This guy is the Sagittarius A supermassive black hole, the center of our galaxy. And you're looking at a radio telescope image taken by the European Southern Observatory. So it's like a visual representation of radio waves of this supermassive object at the very center of our galaxy, which means we can make the assumption, if we go back to our map of the inner sphere, that pointing up is pointing straight towards this object. So next we got to pick a time and place that kind of makes sense to align things. And because we're talking about the Ilkhan era, let's go to Belle Isle, Detroit. So we are now standing in Belle Isle, Detroit, which is well, I guess it's a city park, but it's run by the state of Michigan. And it's basically the largest city park in the country. It's down in the Detroit River. But what I've done is I've picked a location and a time such that if I go ahead and try to find the Sagittarius A supermassive black hole, you're going to see that it is roughly aligned with 270 degrees, or it is basically due west, assuming I could see the southern hemisphere, which of course, standing on Belle Isle, Detroit, you can't see that, but you can in stellarium here. And no, I'm not actually looking at the moon. The moon just happens to be approximately lined up with it. It's a different object. How this is going to work, we can pick some of the major objects that are real stars in the real world, look up where they appear in Battletech, and see if they align anywhere near where they should be in the night sky. And we're going to start with Riel Garus. Unfortunately, this star is actually misspelled, but long story short, we're looking at Alpha Centauri. So if Battletech is anywhere near correct, we should be expecting to see Riel Garus approximately southwest, because it's about 45 degrees relative to Sol here on this map. Let me go over here and search for its actual real name, because there's actually an extra, or a U. There's a U that Battletech leaves out for some reason, probably just a typo when they made the map back in the 80s. And it is currently aligned, let's see, approximately 190 degrees. You see it right down there. So it's actually not that far off. The map, according to Inner Sphere, would probably put it more around here, but you know, it's kind of in the right direction. And supposedly this map is drawn to scale, and Riel Garus is basically right next to Earth. So it's probably about 4 or so light years where it should be. Let's take a look at some other major systems though. We're going to jump over to the star Alder Baron next. This one is part of the constellation of Taurus. And you can see Earth up here at the very top of the map. And we're now kind of like a little more than opposite direction. So if straight down would be east and to the right would be north, we're kind of looking east, northeast for Alder Baron. But let's see where it actually is in the night sky. So it's about 120 degrees on the compass. So it's more like east-southeast and not really east-northeast where the inner sphere map would put it. it's science fiction. It's, you know, that's the kind of things you should expect. So if I do a quick measurement here on the map, Alder Baron is probably about 1 3/8 of an inch. Now this map's kind of a funky scale. I can't figure out what it is, but that's approximately about 90 light years according to this map, because 30 light years is a little bit less than a half an inch. So looking at Alder Baron here, it's at a distance of approximately 65.3 light years. It's science fiction. On a random aside, if you were stuck on some sort of interstellar starship, a great way to pass the time would be printing off some 3D printable gaming miniatures, assembling them and painting them, like these two guys from my Fractured Colony miniature line, which you can get over at fracturedcolony.com. They're the STL files that are available for sale over there. So yes, this is a bit of a shameless self-promotion. And that's because I've got a new set of these coming out pretty soon with a new Kickstarter not too far in the future. In fact, here is the first one I've been showing off for a little while now. This is the Avalon Self-Powered Artillery, and this will be available for sale not too far in the future. All right, let's get back to the random science in Battletech's science fiction. So let's look at two more stars really quickly here. And it's kind of interesting because Battletech does incorporate some actual science from these two stars into the map of the inner sphere. Next up is the star Misa or Misa or something. I don't know how to pronounce it right. This is a star everyone in the Northern Hemisphere knows because it's part of the Big Dipper, which on the map we're looking at, oh, I don't know, that's kind of like a southwesterly direction. And we can just find Ursa Major here in Stellarium. And then there's Misa right here, this particular star in the handle of the Big Dipper. And we're looking more north. So once again, we're in the complete wrong direction. But what's interesting about this particular star, it's actually a quadruple star system. It's a little weird to discuss. Let me show you some notes on this. Here we are, second magnitude star in the handle of the Big Dipper, and it itself is a quadruple star system. I guess there's like two pairs of binary stars kind of gravitationally locked or something along those lines. And if we look at the description in Sarna of this star in Battletech, you'll see here, Mizar is unique in the inner sphere as it is a habitable world of a double binary star system. Mizar orbits one pair of stars, while the other pair of stars is hundreds of AU distant, which I believe is correct when we look at the layout of the system. This means that the four bright Type A stars perpetually illuminate the world, monitoring blah, blah, blah. So there's actually a little bit of science going on here, and we can see that one more time with our last star we're going to view, which is not actually a real star, but indeed an alien superstructure machine that allows for interstellar as well as time travel. But you know, now I'm just kind of crossing sci-fi franchises and tabletop game history. And it should be roughly, given that it's up here in this particular zone, maybe between west and southwest in the night sky. Let's see where it actually is. Antaris is down here in the constellation of Scorpio. And right now, it's approximately around 90-ish degrees in the compass, which means it should actually be somewhere over in the right in one of the other clan occupation zones. So, once again, location is wrong, reoccurring theme here for most of the Battletech stars. But there is one little science note we should take a look at. Notes: Antares is not the real-life star Antares, but a smaller nearby star named after it. The real Antares is a red supergiant, the brightest star in the constellation of Scorpio. Which you may be thinking that I was looking at the wrong star, but I am not. We look at some real science on Antares. A Scorpii, which is a different name for Antares, is a double star that is thought to form a binary system. So there is indeed another star similar to Antares. In case of Battletech, they just went ahead and named this other star Antares, probably because that's just to make life easier, because we actually found this little other star, I guess, back in the 1800s, so it's not like it was a new scientific discovery that Battletech incorporated. It's probably Battletech went ahead and assigned a planet to the star Antaris, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it is a red supergiant star. And instead, hey, maybe we're actually talking about this other little star that hangs out by it. Good save there, Battletech. Good save. Yeah, but that is pretty much about all I got for you today. We could keep going on for a while looking at a few more real stars, and I would imagine that we're probably going to get the same situation where maybe they're in sort of a right spot, maybe not. Probably, I think the best guess at this point is that when Battletech was initially being created and the map of the inner sphere was drawn, they picked a few real star names because it sounded cool and didn't bother to look up where they would actually be in the galaxy. And thus, we're kind of end up with how things are, where the star names are real, but the locations are just kind of way off. And you can kind of fudge some of those things when it comes to story time, or, you know, revisions, or what do you call them? Not revisions, retcons as the days go on or the years go on for a story. But some things like moving a planet from one particular great house or clan occupation zone to another, that doesn't work quite well when you've already wrote some stories of it being over here. So with that, thank you guys all for watching. If you want me to investigate some other random questions about tabletop games and their histories and stories and things that no one has ever asked because there's no good reason to do so, feel free to leave some of those down in the comments, and I will see about tackling them sometime in the not too distant future. So I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield. I will see all of you guys next time.